There's an idea floating around that, if true, will have tremendous ramifications for the chase. And it goes like this. I think Forrest never anticipated the search becoming a national story. It feels like it was meant to be more of a locally based legend. As the story became more national, it seems like the storyline changed to try to broaden the search area, probably to lead people away from New Mexico and help extend the length of time the chest remains hidden. Let's call this the WSA theory, the widened search area theory. It has several components. First, Forrest intended for the chase to be a local treasure hunt near Santa Fe. Second, Forrest didn't anticipate the eventual vast scope and size of the chase. Third, when interest expanded, he worried about a quick solve. And so he widened the search area and began saying Rocky Mountains. So that post was from 2013. Here it is again on Dale's site. This is from 2017. When Forrest wrote the book, there wasn't the expectation that a whole bunch of people would know about it. Privately published and sold at a single bookstore in Santa Fe, he expected a few hundred people to be looking for it. But when the Today Show got wind of it, it took off. And now his smaller, difficult but not impossible area was going to be flooded with people. And it would be found soon. The only way to fix it is to widen the search area. So hey, instead of the mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe, it's now in the Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe, all the way up to Canada. If the only promotion of your book is it sitting on the shelf in a privately owned bookstore, who do you expect to find it? Maybe someone passing through town, and while they're there, maybe they can get out and about looking for a treasure that's nearby. There was no reason at all for him to change mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe to the Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe, except to widen the search area and prolong the finding of it. So this is very similar to the post on Chase Chat as far as the basic theory, only here it's been expanded to include evidence. We'll get into that in a minute. Lastly, here it is very recently from Jenny Kyle at Mysterious Writings. The first 6 questions Mysterious Writings did in 2013 with Forrest was before the treasure hunt was shared on the Today Show and gained large national attention. Up until this time, the thrill of the chase was not widely known and was only offered in the Collected Works bookstore in New Mexico. It was a quiet, albeit growing, treasure hunt before it exploded after the Today Show. It is during this time that Rocky was added, and somewhere in the Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe began to be used. In the book, you will notice it is only in the mountains north of Santa Fe, and the map on page 133 is only of New Mexico. So why the change? Why add Rocky now? Was it because Forrest realized he needed to widen the search area? Did he begin adding Rocky Mountains to hint to looking more north because he didn't want his chest found so quickly? Here Jenny adds another strand of evidence, the 2 maps. So, what is the significance of the WSA theory? Simple. If true, it narrows the current search area by about 90%. We can scratch Colorado and the northern states off our search area, and we can head to New Mexico right away. So let's look at the evidence that's been given for the WSA theory. First, Forrest's direct statements about the search area. He originally said north of Santa Fe. Only after the Today Show did he start saying Rocky Mountains. Secondly, his maps. In Thrill of the Chase, it was a map of New Mexico. In Too Far to Walk, it was a map of 4 states. Thirdly, Thrill of the Chase was not promoted with a large-scale audience in mind. It was privately published and sold at one bookstore. So here is the evidence that's brought forward to back up the WSA theory. Let's look at each of these points one by one, starting with Forrest's wording. Did his wording change? The short answer is yes. It's true that in launching the chase, Forrest did not say Rocky Mountains. However, the mountains north of Santa Fe are in fact the Rockies. It's not like Forrest pointed people to a different mountain range. And it's helpful to remember that someone in Santa Fe wouldn't say to a friend, "Hey, you want to go fishing in the Rocky Mountains?" They would be more specific. People in Denver don't call up a friend and say, "Any interest in heading out to the Rocky Mountains?" Some terms are only used if you're far removed from the place in question. Nevertheless, there was a shift in terminology. People have said there's no other explanation than Forrest wanted to prolong the chase, in which case the shift in wording is a giant red herring. About the size of Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, deliberately misleading people away from the treasure chest. But it could be that when the search became popular far and wide, Forrest felt that Rocky Mountains was helpful for people who were in fact far removed, including overseas. This first piece of evidence presupposes that for 2.5 years after the memoir was published, everyone thought Forrest's words only meant New Mexico, and that is patently false. Gadi Schwartz, local TV news anchor, got turned onto the chase early on and well before the Today Show, and he was searching in Montana. This is what he had to say less than a year after the memoir was published. If you're thinking about going out and searching for this treasure, here is another little hint. Forrest Fenn has told me just because he said it's in the mountains north of Santa Fe doesn't mean it's in New Mexico. Likewise, Richard Saunier, whose blog was featured at Forrest's website, long ago picked up on the ambiguity immediately. One must fully expect clues that are not what they seem at first reading. Perhaps the major clue in the entire book is one of these: in the mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe. All news articles I have seen on the subject of his treasure chest interpret their own rephrasing of his statement to mean in the mountains of northern New Mexico. But that is not what Forrest Fenn said. His statement could mean that he has hidden his treasure chest in any of the mountains from Santa Fe north to and through Alaska. Let's look at the second strand of evidence brought forward by Jenny Kyle at Mysterious Writings. She points out that the maps changed. This sounds like such a strong argument. He changed the map. He changed the search area. But look at the first map on page 133 of The Thrill of the Chase. Does this look like a map that Forrest intends for you to take out in the mountains and use for navigation? It's been backgrounded. A large section is completely covered or out of frame. It's blurry throughout. Half of the important northern region is faded. It took searchers a while to figure out that this was even a map of New Mexico. This looks more like a decorative touch, like a plastic piece of fruit that you're not supposed to bite into. Lastly, as far as the memoir being published as a small-scale operation, this is really weak. Forrest had used his own publishing company for the San Lazaro book and for his other books in the decade leading up to the chase. So why wouldn't he use One Horse Land and Cattle Company, especially since now, more than ever, he wanted privacy and total creative control? It seems like Forrest wanted to keep the endeavor in-house as much as possible, even the sales of the books. He had a special agreement whereby he would fund production and give all proceeds to the bookstore, which protected him from the accusation of self-dealing. And he could guard the book's secrets until he was ready to put it on shelves. People have said Forrest intended a local treasure hunt a short drive from Santa Fe. And sure, he did local TV and radio interviews to promote in his hometown. But early on, he also promoted outside of Santa Fe, even outside of New Mexico. Just a few months after launching the chase, Forrest sat down with Margie Goldsmith at the Huffington Post. This was February 2011. Also, before the Today Show, he did an extensive interview for Newsweek and started working with Dale Neitzel and Jenny Kyle, who were based far away from New Mexico and operating websites that had a worldwide reach. From the beginning, when asked about how the chase was going, he would often mention people far afield, people in Georgia, Florida, Illinois, people like Dale, 1,600 miles away in Washington State. The launch may have been low-key, but there were reasons for using his own publishing house and protecting the book's secrets with a local vendor. And as word spread, Forrest welcomed it. He didn't change the rules, he merely changed the terminology for a new audience. And the change in maps didn't widen the search area. It was merely an admission that the ambiguous language had been there all along. From the start, keen-eyed searchers saw that, and they kept an open mind.